Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new show. This is Loving Elvis Book Club. And the book that we are going to begin to review and discuss is Baby Let's Playhouse by Alanna Nash. And if you're there, Elena, and you see this video, just know that we are going to go by our discussion of the book. We're going to go by what we think. I'm not going to read the book word for word, guys, because if I did that, that's copyright. I don't want to get in trouble. Ooh, I got something bothering me. Hold on. And I don't want to get in trouble. So I'm just going to give you the tidbits of what each page is about of each chapter, and we're going to discuss it. Okay, guys? So Elena, if you're watching, I'm not doing anything wrong. This is just a discussion hour, and I figured I'll make this show into about 40 minutes to an hour. And we can go through the books and see, the life of Elvis through other people. And we're going to try to debunk things, and we're going to talk about it, okay? That's just exactly what I want this show to be. A great discussion. Have you ever read an Elvis book or read something about Elvis and you were just wishing that you would have a live chat so you can ask a question and we can discuss it? Well, this is your place, guys. So this is Baby Let's Playhouse by Alanna Nash. This is my copy. I got the hardback, I have the hard book copy, but you can get the paperback as well. You don't have to have the book, guys. I'm just going to tell you what's in it. So you don't have to have the book, but, to give Elena the credit, you should buy the book. Just saying. So anyways, I'm going to take the sleeve off. I don't know about you guys, but when I read a book, I take the sleeve off. See, Pam. Hey. Patricia. Hi. Carol. Hey. Lily. Hi, Shauna. I'm excited to talk about this book. Good. Teresa. Hi. Rosalind. You're here on time for once? Well, good. I thought making it 9:30 would throw some, I thought making it 9 o'clock would throw some people off tonight because normally my shows are 9:30. But believe it or not, I really want to do book club about 8 p.m., but I'm running late. So you got 9 o'clock tonight for our first launch of the book club. Yep. Ophelia, hey. William, hello, Shauna. I got my Kool-Aid. Another Elvis book came out. Did it now. Peter, hi. Hi, brother from down under. Hadn't seen you in a while. Hey, Patty, it's been a while since I read this. That's okay, because we're going to go through it. Lisa, hi. Looking forward to this. Good. And Teresa, hello. Well, hello there. It's been a long time. How am I doing? Well, we're going to read a book, and that's fine. Okay. You're still alive. Good. I'm glad, Peter. Glad you're still alive. All right. So I'm going to start by reading the jacket of the book. Some people don't read the jacket, so I can at least read that. That's not copyright infringement. All right. Nearly 33 years after his death, Elvis Presley's extraordinary physical appeal, timeless music, and sexual charisma continue to captivate, titillate, and excite. Though hundreds of books have been written about the king, no book has surely explored his relationships with women and how they influenced his music and life until now. Based largely on exclusive interviews with the many women who knew him in various roles, lover, sweetheart, friend, co-star, and family member, Baby Let's Playhouse explores Presley's love affairs with, among others, Anne Margaret, Linda Thompson, Sheila Ryan Cain, June Wanico, Joyce Bova, Barbara Lee, Sybil Shepherd, and Priscilla Beaulieu, as well as his friendship with actress Raquel Welch, Barbara Eden, Marianne Mobley, Yvonne Craig, and Celeste Yarnell. The book also spotlights spotlights important early girlfriends and women who dared to turn him down, including Cher, Petulia Clark, Karen Carpenter, as well as two women, Kay Wheeler and Tura Santana, who taught him dance moves that he used on stage. Baby Let's Play House, named after the 1955 song that was his first hit, the national charts, and his mother's favorite Elvis recording, presents Elvis in a new light as charming but wounded Lothario, who bedded scores of women but seemed unable to maintain a lasting romantic relationship. While fully exploring the most famous romantic idol of the 20th century, award-winning veteran music journalist Alanna Nash pulls back the covers on what Elvis really wanted in a woman and was tragically never able to find. Yep, and Alanna Nash also was a winner of 2004 Country Music Association Media Achievement Award. And she's the author of 6 books, including The Colonel, The Extraordinary Story of the Colonel Tom Parker and Elvis Presley, winner of 2004 Belmont Award for Best Book in Music, Dolly, a biography, Behind Closed Doors, Talking with Legend, Country Music, Elvis and the Memphis Mafia. She also co-edited the Belmont Award-winning Will the Circle Be Unbroken, Country Music in America, and is the recipient of 2009 Charlie Lamb Award for Excellence in Country Music Journalism. She has written about music for such publications as the New York Times, Vanity Fair, People, Playboy, Entertainment Weekly, Ladies Home Journal, U.S. Weekend, TV Guide, and Reader's Digest, where she was a contributor editor from 2004 to 2008. Nash, whom Esquire named one of the heavy 100 of country music, was the first journalist to see Elvis Presley in his casket. She lives in Louisville, Kentucky. And believe it or not, folks, she's my friend. And I have interviewed her in my past when Rhonda was with me. It's in Two Gals Talk About Elvis. So if you guys are like wanting to know what Alanna Nash is like and what she thought about writing this book, okay, just watch our past show when we interviewed her, okay, and then you'll get the tidbit of who Alanna Nash is, okay. All right, so let's see. Wanda, hello, Shauna, and everyone here with my neighbor for book chat. Good. We're going to start going over this book in just a minute. Just let me read some of y'all's comments. Boy, this live book club is going to be very interesting. Lisa, looking forward to this. Jenny Cantor, hi. All right. William, you got your hands on the new book? Good. Elvis Chick, hello, everybody. Hello. Patricia, hi. Wanda, Lily, I couldn't believe how this book exposed the true Priscilla. She was no virgin when she met Elvis. Well, we're going to get there, guys. Peter, a lot of women who turned me down regretted it. Okay, so here is the book. Now, because of copyright, I cannot read, because of it, I cannot read the introduction. Okay, this book was written in 2010. Hi, everybody. Now, remember, when I go through this book, it's going to be hard to read y'all's comments until I'm done, and then I can say, hey, what do you guys think about that? And then you guys can comment, okay? Because if you write while I'm reading, we're never going to get done tonight. Okay, so the introduction was part of here, all right? And then there are 34 chapters, an epilogue, acknowledgments, endnotes, bibliography, index. There is 663 pages of this book, but we're only going to read to like 6:15. Okay, because I always stop around the end notes because I don't really need the bibliography unless I'm needing it for some reason. So that's that. All right, so Chapter 1, Baby Let's Play House by Alanna Nash, Chapter 1. And here we go. This is talking about Gladys. This is the first page. It's about Gladys. Elvis called her my best gal. but in the deepest psychological sense, she was not only his best gal, but also his only one. Yep. And when Elvis was famous and had notoriety, he got her Graceland. hmm And he surrounded her with luxury and things that she wasn't used to because she had poverty before this. So she wasn't really used to all this luxury and nice things and silver and china, and it wasn't what she was used to, according to this book so far. And she never really wanted this stuff, and she rarely enjoyed any of it. Yep. Um, most of the times at Graceland, she'd be feeding her chickens out back, hanging her laundry up to dry, right there on the front lawn of Graceland, which was okay to do, but people looked down upon her doing simple things because it was supposed to be Elvis Presley's, house, and he was supposed to have money, and people with money don't hang their own laundry to dry, and people with money don't have chickens, right? So it was something she wasn't used to, and so she continued to have these things that she had when they weren't rich. She continued. All right. Also, she had a temper, guys. According to this first page, she was a hot-tempered woman. Who at one time dumped a whole pot of steaming beans on her husband's head. Yeah. Could you imagine? Now, I heard she was a Spitfire, but you don't cross Gladys. You don't make her mad, you know. So she did that to Vernon. Yep. Also, she was always fearful. She was a fearful soul, and she was afraid for Elvis's safety. She was either worried about a wreck or getting sick or anything that could be a negative. She would worry about it. She was a worrywart. And I think it's funny because my mother is a worrywart as well. I have to call her once a day at a certain time. If I don't call my mother once a day at a certain time, my mother would freak out. She does even to this day. If I don't call her exactly at 9 o'clock my time, I already pre-called her. If you're wondering though, about guys, by the way. But this piece of hair is bothering me. Seriously, I can't read. So hold on. I'm gonna. I got a haircut, so haven't quite got it all fixed yet. Okay, so my mom's a worrywart. Gladys was a worrywart. She worried about everything, okay? And that was part of her. She worried. All right, and here we go. Also, let's see. She was also worried about Elvis being pulled away from her, like he was getting pulled away from everything that he had ever known, according to this. It also said that she made monthly visits to the small town of Tupelo, Mississippi, where she grew up, because she obviously wasn't happy once Elvis got money. She wasn't happy where she was. They were always hurting for money. She worked extra hard, and we're going to get to why she had to. But once they didn't have to worry, she was still worried, yet she was unhappy because they had it, but it wasn't what maybe she thought it would be. Who knows? We'll see when we read more of this book. But also, it states that earlier in Gladys's life, she was an outgoing girl, happy. She was a joking person, and she loved to dance. She had a light in her eyes, people said, you know. Let me see what you guys think so far. Sorry. Manly, Dee was a spitfire too. I wonder if she ever dumped beans on Vernon's head. I don't know, Manly. Lily, they said Elvis had his mama's temper. Yes, they did. He would blow up like a rocket, and then calm down. He would be better. Nat, TV. My uncle and aunt were rich, and he had chickens and peacocks. Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, it depends on what kind of a person you are. I think if you get into this book more, it shows that the music executives and all the higher ups just looked down upon it when they had to see it. Elvis chick. I'm hoping nobody gets mad, but I hope Gladys haunts both of you. Oh, it would be nice. It'd be nice if that's the lady in the attic. That was always haunting her, right? They always say there's a lady in the attic at Graceland. Could it be Gladys? Lily, I think she is. Trevor, correct, Lily. Elvis and Gladys both had bad tempers. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Manly, of course, Vernon drove her on those Tupelo visits because Gladys did not drive. It's true, guys. Gladys could not drive. She never learned how. Yep. Patricia, she really loved her boy and would do anything. Exactly. But she was always afraid. She was always fearful. It must have been really hard. You know, she had a lot of phobias and things to overcome. We're going to get to it. Okay, the next page is this page is going to talk about Gladys's early days and her parents' roots. Okay, it's also going to talk about early family hardships, and it talks about Gladys's parents, Doll and Bob Munsell. So we're going to get here, okay? It also said that she had a great smile, by the way. I forgot to read that to you earlier. All right, let me put my glasses up because I can't read with my glasses on. It's so weird. People also said that Gladys had a way of making you laugh when nobody else could laugh. She would be there to do it for you. So she could cut up. So maybe Elvis also got his sense of humor by Gladys. I mean, he had a sense of humor, guys. It also says that Annie Presley was the wife of Sales Presley and was also a first cousin of Elvis's father, Vernon. And she said that, you know, Gladys could make you laugh when nobody else could. I love how this book will have people from Gladys's life saying things because we didn't get that after Elvis. We didn't get too many of those except for like Billy Smith and a few others, but it wasn't like a lot. So I'm glad that there is people on here in this book that remember Gladys and are talking to us about her. Okay. It also states that once Elvis became famous, the smiling, good-natured, making people laugh when no one else couldn't, loved to dance, the things that made her what she was, left her when Elvis got famous. So why do you guys think that is? I mean, seriously. Okay, so here she is, happy, has a temper. Oh yeah, don't cross her. But she was happy, making people laugh. She had a smile so big, and she had all of these affects and dreams, but she made people feel good. She also had a temper, and she loved to dance. So what do you guys think happened to her once Elvis got famous and she quit doing this stuff and Gladys wasn't the same anymore? I think it's because, like I said before, you know, I think people that have less money, even though we have less things, we're rich in love and we have more than some people have when they're rich and can go like that and get anything they want by the snap of a finger. I think that um, the bright spark left her because that's when she realized that she was losing her boy. Could it be that? Her boy was everything to her. So once he got famous and she realized that pull was going to pull him away from her, then the spark also went away. What do you guys think? Gladys, I think because she was so worried about Elvis. Me too. See, Pam, she didn't feel needed anymore. That, yeah, I can see that. Manly, by the time Elvis got famous, Gladys had physical pains from working and had moved several times in Memphis and never made a close Memphis friend. So she was more alone than ever. That too. I mean, she missed her family and her friends in Tupelo. She missed her church. She missed everything in Tupelo. That's why she, got Vernon to drive her back, from time to time after they bought Graceland. And even when they're on Audubon Drive, she probably felt more at home in Tupelo than she did in Memphis. Let's see. Patricia, I agree with you, Shauna. Cheryl, she knew she would have to share her son with the world. And that would be hard to do when it was someone that didn't share him at all. She wanted to keep him to herself because that was her boy. He was her only child. And it was very traumatic how she ended up with just him anyway, because he was a twinless twin. So she had to lose one baby. And if anybody has ever lost a child, and being at her first, had to be devastating. So she held on tight, and it made her hold on tighter because he was all she had. So she had to hold on. Melissa, it was the worry of what was going to happen to Elvis and the uncertainty of the future living a life she's never lived before. She didn't know how to act different. It's like, okay, if you lived like Gladys your whole life and won the lottery, how would you know how to act and how not to act in a society, of rich people? How would you know? How would you know? So it was more like, to her it was like moving to a island, and she didn't know how the islanders were. Well, she didn't know how the rich folks were either. Wanda, Elvis was traveling a lot. He was not at home much, and that worried her the most because he was driving and meeting people, letting people influence him. I'm sure she didn't like that too much. Someone that would have a tight grip on you, and then they're not in your presence, so the grip kind of lets loose a little bit at a time until eventually it's not the same anymore. She was worried about him changing and everything changing. Elvis chick. It had to be hard on her to share her son with the world. She loved him first. Yeah. So yeah, it had to be hard. It had to be hard. Millicent. She was filled with worry about Elvis's safety. Much of Elvis's time was taken. Yep. There is an ad in 2 seconds, guys. If you guys leave and watch the ad for me, that's how I get paid. I thought I'd let you know. Anything else, I'm good. I'll be here when you guys get back from the ad. Tell me when it's over so I can start going again of the book. Trevor, Gladys was a closet drinker, but never sloppy. She enjoyed the simple life. she started taking weight loss drugs, and she sang in the church with Vernon and Elvis and was losing that. Yeah, we're gonna get to that, Trevor. Yeah. She, like everyone else, had her demons. We all have ours, you know. What your environment is what makes you. What you're raised in makes you. So that had a lot to do with it too. It's a lot to do with, how you're raised, and how your environment is, and that shows how you're probably going to be once you grow up. Granted, you can break the cycle. Elvis did. You can break the cycle of being poor and not having anything to having something, and working hard to have something, but it it comes at a price. It comes at a price. Patty. She worried about Elvis. When she got famous, she became increasingly worried about him. She was stressed because she felt she was literally losing her only child. The stress led to her drinking more. Exactly. Manly. Gladys was very talkative with Elvis's girlfriends, including Dixie and Barbara, and they probably innocently told her things Elvis said, which worried her. Probably. Okay, I'm going to go back to the book, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what we learned here. Okay. So Gladys was born April 25th, 1912, the day after mine. And she was born in Patotoc County, Mississippi. Okay. She was the daughter of Bob Smith and Octavia Dahl Smith. Now, it also shows that they were farmers. Yep. It was not uncommon back then to be a farmer, a sharecropper. That's what they were. All right. The children numbered 8, so she had 8 brothers and sisters. Yep. There were Gladys, 3 girls, Lillian, Lavelle, and Risa. And then there was boys, Travis, Tracy, John, and then there was another girl, Gladys. All right. Says here that at age 2, Tracy, who was already mentally impaired, contracted whooping cough and he lost his hearing. Yep. Gladys's mother had tuberculosis. So it's called tuberculosis now, but back in the day, they used to call that consumption because it would consume you. It would consume you from the inside out, guys. It was just a withering disease. I mean, you would just cough your lungs up, basically, until there just wasn't anything left. It was pretty bad to have, but she had this as a child. I don't know how much it progressed as she got older. All right. Now, let's see. Gladys's mother, Doll, was spoiled because of her health. When she was a child, Doll was spoiled because her parents knew that she was sickly. So, she could get by with things. She got more things. She was just spoiled because of her sickness. Okay? And also, let's see, where am I? When Doll finally chose to marry, it was at 27 years old. So she was like, according to that time, 1912, wouldn't she be considered an old maid by 27? I mean, didn't these people back then get married young in their teens? But she waited till she was 27. Maybe it was her health that made her have to wait so long. But when I read this, the other day, I thought to myself, wait a minute, she was 27 and she just now getting married? All right, because back in 1912, you're considered an old maid if you're not married by what, 17? So that got me. That got me. Let's see. Also, it talks about Robert Mansell's roots, which is Gladys's father. And it was very interesting because this is where the Jewish side, the Jewish blood comes in through Nancy J. Burden Tackett, okay, and Martha Tackett, because she married John Mansell and grandson of William Mansell, and he didn't know how to even write his name in 1870 when he came to America. He could only put the marking of X for his signature. But among their children were Doll, which was Gladys's mother, and the Jewish roots go by the mother's blood of the family, not the male. So it makes you know that Elvis has Jewish roots. He is Jewish because Gladys, her grandmother, was Jewish. So that would make Doll passing it on to her children Jewish, and that would make Gladys passing it on to hers, Elvis, which did not pass on to Lisa because Elvis wasn't a female. Did you guys ever think about that? Elvis is Jewish because his mother was, and the Jewish goes through the mother. So Elvis's daughter, Lisa Marie, wasn't Jewish. Elvis was, though, because his mother was Jewish. Isn't that crazy? So, okay, here we go. The Smith family, as this book says, was matriarchal. So they ruled. Like, Doll's illness didn't allow her to leave the bed most of the time. She was sick a lot, like a lot. So she didn't leave her bed, okay? She did not. It also says that she ruled the family with her sickness. Do you know what that possibly could mean, ruling the family by your sickness? I think I have an example. So, like, she's sick and her kids need to do stuff. So she'll be like, probably, I'm so sick. How would we ever let your mother be like this? I'm so awful. You need to do something for me. I'm so sick. Oh, I'm so sick. You better get out there and start plowing because I can't do it. You guys, I'm so sick. I can't cook. I'm so sick. I can't clean. Somebody's got to do it because I'm so sick. Could be something like that. Could be something else. I mean, you know, you guys tell me what you think, but ruling the family with your sickness, like giving them guilt trips, maybe? You know, have you guys ever been guilt tripped into doing something you didn't want to do because somebody is playing pity party? Oh, pity. Oh, woe is me. Oh, pitiful, pitiful me. And then make you guilt tripped into doing stuff? Maybe that's how she was, you know? But I don't know. That's what it just says, that she ruled the family with her sickness. All right? She had a sense of entitlement. Her parents spoiled her to the point of entitlement. She really thought she was, you know, entitled to things. Yep. And with that, she got things. And one of her two precious things was her mirror and her comb. So they might not have lived in a nice house. They might not have had nice things, but Doll had a nice comb and mirror. And she would put it under her bed, and she would take it out, and she would admire herself, and she would just comb her hair and look. Of course, if you see the pictures of her mom and dad, Gladys's mom and dad, Gladys's dad was handsome. I think Elvis got a lot of his looks from Gladys's dad, and the deep, deep eyes. Her mother, Doll, she was beautiful. She was beautiful, guys. And so was Gladys. But she let the worry get to her. And then she, how they say sometimes if you just give up, you let things go. Maybe that's what happened. She just let things go. But Doll was a very beautiful woman. She was sickly, though. And Bob, her dad, was handsome. I mean, handsome. All right. So, they were also so poor at one time that the children would sleep together on the floor on a mattress that was padded with crabgrass. And they hardly had any shoes. They had to hold them together with metal rings. They would slaughter hogs during their year, and they would fashion toothbrushes out of black gum tree. Okay? So they had to use a black gum tree branch to brush their teeth. Okay? Oh, hey, Substance. I love your channel. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you for the videos. God bless you. Much love, Jean from Hollywood, California. You're welcome. Elvis Chick agreed. Bob Mansell was handsome. Manly. Doll was bedridden most of Gladys's life and still had 8 kids, mostly never leaving her bed. Oh, I know, but I guess Doll and Bob couldn't get enough of each other. Tuberculosis be darned. They probably enjoyed each other tremendously. Whether she had tuberculosis or not, they found a way to have 8 children. So, yep. Let's see, I missed one. Elvis Chick, yeah, but in the movie, Elvis Baz made Gladys, Vernon, and all the family look bad. Just because you're poor doesn't make you trash or stupid. Exactly. And Billy Smith did say once, just because you're poor, it doesn't make you white trash. Yet some people could say that they were. But just because you're poor, it don't make you white trash. White trash is a whole different level. It has nothing to do with just being poor. It has a level of other things involved in that. And Elvis's family wasn't. They were just poor. All right. Okay. So the Smiths, when Gladys was young, the Smiths moved a lot. Yep. And they moved around Tupelo and Lee County. All right. They said that they would have her like laying down on the back of a trailer, and they would be pulling her like she was a queen or something, She would be pulled along, laying down upright when they would move. So that would have been a sight to see. Also, Gladys's father, Bob, was very desperate, especially in poverty Tupelo during that time. He was a farmer. He tried his luck with sharecropping. And if you know what sharecropping is, good. If not, I'll explain to you. Sharecropping is living on land and a house that you don't own. And you work that land, and you give, when that land is ready to harvest, you give a big chunk of that to the landlord, and then you take a little part to feed your family. But the thing was, it was never really enough because the landlords would want to overprice what they would want. So it was really hard. You wouldn't actually make ends meet that much. You were giving more to the landowner by the time it was all said and done than you were putting on your own table, and even lucky enough to sell afterwards to make money to sell anything. That's why they mostly had hogs as well. They would butcher those hogs, and you could sell a hog or two, especially when other families needed to be fed. And during the hard times of the South, and in that time, I mean, goodness sakes, this was way before the Great Depression, but still, the South in that area has always been poor. Have you ever went to Tupelo now? It's nothing like it is now. It was nothing. There was nothing there but farmland as far as you can see. Now they've added things. It's a town, but it's a town with every accommodation you can think of now. But back then, there was nothing. It was nothing, guys. Yep. It's okay, Michelle, if you've missed the beginning of this. You can watch it in its entirely after it uploads when I'm done tonight. You can watch it again. Yep. Doris, Billy said they built up Gladys's drinking. He said she had an occasional beer. He never saw her drunk. I know. I really wish they would have used Billy Stanley as, sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. I really wish they would have used Billy Smith, oh my gosh, for that movie with Baz Luhrmann. We would have got an insight into Gladys. And you would have think that they would have asked him, but they didn't. They asked nobody about Gladys. They were just, they should have consulted with the one relative from that side left that's alive, and they didn't. So they had an opportunity, and they swindled it. Queen, Gladys's parents was extremely good looking. No offense to the Smith and Presley family, but Elvis was blessed with the best looks from both families. Yeah. Can I tell you guys something? I'm going to be honest with you. Are you ready? Okay. I'm going to be honest. I personally think Elvis got his looks from Gladys's dad, and Vernon. You mix those three together, you got Elvis. That's what I think. I don't think the other parts of the Presley side was all that great looking. That's what I mean by being honest. But Vernon and Elvis were surely good looking. But it all happened because of Gladys's dad and Gladys. And I think that's how Elvis got made. Because even Elvis has the side lip that Vernon had. Vernon had it too, and especially in the young photos of Vernon, you can see that. I don't know. I just think Gladys's family was better looking than the Presley side. But that's all I mean. Elvis chick, yes, I agree, Shauna, because him and Vernon's mouth are identical. Yes, they were identical. They had the same mouth. It's full lips, very full lips, and they had that face curl thing. So, it's really fun. Rainbow, Billy Smith was cute. Well, yeah, I mean, but we're talking about criticizing people about their looks. I think we better stop now before it gets out of hand. Not everybody can be Elvis. God broke the mold when he made Elvis, so there'll never be another. But Vernon and him shared the same lips. Elvis had Gladys's eye set because she got it from her dad, Bob. That's what I think. Sarah, back then alcohol was used for medicinal purposes. Oh, yeah, amongst other things. Cheryl, Gladys was more than an occasional drinker. I know, and we'll get to it. Elvis chick, Lisa Marie's too had the lip. When she sang, her lip would go up. True that. She did. But, just the roots run deep. Michelle, Gladys and Elvis had very soulful eyes. Yes, but Gladys got her eyes from her dad, Bob Mansell. Michelle, did you know that? Because she got her daddy's eyes. Queen, I agree, Shauna. Those was some great genes, and I agree because I'm a Smith family follower. Yeah, I think it all stems down to Bob Mansell and Vernon with Gladys mixed in. There you go. You got Elvis. Lily, Elvis is the most gorgeous man ever. Yeah, that's why we still here, right? Gosh, no, Elvis is perfect, nothing else. Catgirl Blue. Elvis definitely won the lotto in the gene pool. He did, but there's a lot of double cousins in his gene pool on both sides. You've got cousins, first cousins marrying first cousins. That doesn't happen anymore, but back then it did. You know, back then it did, and according to some people, that's partly of where the health problems came from, was the double cousins, was the first cousins marrying first cousins. Anyways, let me keep going here, guys. We're gonna get here. We gotta get through some of this chapter anyway. All right. Besides being a sharecropper, Bob Mansell, it says, also relied on handouts. So they were not a stranger to ask people for money, food, or whatever. They asked for handouts. Can you give? Can you please give? Please give. Please give. And you know, in that time, there were people in the community that did give. And they gave a lot more than people give nowadays. I'll tell you what, because if it wasn't for people back then, a lot of these people in the small towns like Tupelo and other places like it wouldn't have survived. There would be a small town doctor that would do house calls on credit, or he would get a live chicken as a payment for a checkup from someone's house, or a goat even from a procedure that cost a little too much. Or the small town doctor can get favors like, I'll drive you to church every Sunday for 2 months if you work on my daughter. There was always haggling going on, but people always had time for others and to help others in need and to give when others had nothing. So in the small town of Tupelo, there were these types of people. There were the givers. They had a little bit more than others had. And it looked like Bob Mansell wasn't a stranger to asking or begging for whatever he needed. Of course, he worked, but he wasn't ashamed to ask when he needed something. Okay, there's going to be an ad in 12 seconds. And when I'm not going to talk about the book again until the ad is done. So could you guys tell me when the ad is finished, guys, so I can keep going? I don't want none of y'all to miss what I'm going to say. All right, the ad has started. Teresa, Elvis is Elvis' beautiful mom. Both Elvis and Gladys are both so beautiful. Yeah, they were. Rainbow, there's no way you can found Mourning Dove being very pretty. There's no existing picture of Mourning Dove. That picture that you see going around the internet that says Elvis's great-great-grandmother, Mourning Dove, with a picture of her, no. Cameras were not invented when Elvis's great-great-great-grandmother, Mourning Dove, was walking on this earth. So there is no real photo of Mourning Dove. What you're seeing is someone finding a picture of an Indian woman and sticking it up there and saying it's Mourning Dove and putting Elvis in the sentence. The picture out there of Mourning Dove is not the real Mourning Dove. Mourning Dove was so old in time, there was no cameras available to take her picture. So I thought I would tell you if you didn't know already. And for everyone else who didn't, There you go. Now you know. That picture is not mourning dove. Sarah, Doll's maiden name was Mansell. Bob was a Smith. Sarah, thank you. I made that mistake twice. I didn't mean to. It all comes running along sometimes. Rosalind, I agree with you about Elvis got his looks, especially from Gladys's dad. Vernon was good looking too when he was younger, but there will never be anyone that looks as good as Elvis did again. Exactly. Nat, Lisa was like 90% Elvis. Thank God, and yes, Bob was very, very handsome. Teresa, Elvis is the most beautiful, gorgeous, handsome I've ever seen. That's why we're still here, guys! Well, one of the reasons. Catgirl Blue, people who didn't have much themselves would give to others who had even less. Exactly. I wish that mentality was still going to this day. I mean, I know there are people that give. I give when I can, but there'll be sometimes I can't. But thank God for the people that can. Elvis chick. She said, hello, Frosty. Frosty, hello from San Diego. Hello, Frosty. Teresa, Elvis never forgot where he came from. Elvis has a heart and soul. So loving, caring, kind. You will never find anybody as beautiful as Elvis. Inside and out. Rainbow, thank you, Shauna, but surely being on Gladys' side must have been beautiful. Lily, okay. What I'm going to do is we're going to keep going through this book, okay? Okay. Here we go. It also says that besides relying on handouts, Bob Smith would also do less respectable trades to provide extra for Doll. It wasn't that he provided extra for his children. It said that he provided extra for his wife, Doll, by doing, besides sharecropping, by doing something that wasn't so good. What the means wasn't so honest. And I guess what she means by that is, if you hadn't guessed already, Bob Smith, Gladys's father, wasn't just a sharecropper. He was a bootlegger. He was a bootlegger, making alcohol and taking it to the people that bought it. And these were means that were illegal back then. And it's illegal even now, but most of these people up in Appalachia and places in the South, I mean, I have cousins that make moonshine where I live back home, and you can find moonshine any way, shape, or form when you go to the woods, that country. But her father was a bootlegger, and back then it was very dangerous to be a bootlegger, okay? It wasn't as glamorous as you think. There were some trouble and a lot of it that would get to you if you got caught being a bootlegger back in the day. So it wasn't by that much honest means, but he had to do what he had to do because being a sharecropper really didn't give much money. And you have to realize they had 8 children. 8 children! And so it would be hard. He'd probably have to find other means. But it says in the book that he would spoil his wife, Doll, just like almost she was spoiled when she was a child living back home before she married Bob Smith. So it kind of shows me that the children went without while Doll got things. And I guess he was a bootlegger to pay for this stuff. Elvis chick, you'll steal. Let's see, $100 a quart here for pure moonshine. 100? Well, funny thing is, I've never had to pay for moonshine myself. I've always got it for free. I just had to ask and I'd get me some. So I never even knew how much a quart was. $100. Well, a person can make a living doing that to this day, but I wouldn't recommend it because you could still get in trouble. There's actually a show on A&E. I used to watch it called Moonshiners. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. If you haven't, watch it. It goes and shows what the Southerners do and how they hide from the law to make the moonshine. And one of the most famous moonshiners ever in America history, his name was Cotton. Popcorn, his name was Popcorn Sutton. Popcorn Sutton was the most famous moonshiner there ever has been. And when he died, everybody wanted his recipe and nobody even got close to it. But anyways, I digress. Gladys's father was a bootlegger, which bootlegging is making the moonshine and delivering the moonshine to its destination, which is pretty dangerous stuff when you're running from the police. Cheryl says it burns blue in a saucer. It's good. Wow. I've had every flavor. It's good. I've even had watermelon. Watermelon moonshine is delicious. All right, let me keep going, guys. I said I was going to only have an hour show, but we've already surpassed that hour, and I'm glad. I figured I only had an hour worth of content. I guess with us talking and me doing it live, I got longer. So, okay, here we go. Because Bob was a bootlegger, he could provide extra, it said, for doll. Now, Gladys's brother Travis was a hard drinker, and he had a violent temper, and he loved to fight. So I guess it runs in the family. But being a son of a bootlegger by Alanna Nash book means that most of the time, if you are one, you're going to be a drinker too. Bob catered to Doll, but her children too, because Lillian, Gladys's sister's rival, reported her sister to always be lazy as a hog, shrieking her housework. By her teenage years, it says here, Gladys was creative, making her own clothes. Her friend Vera Turner had a sewing machine, it said, and she would do that when she wasn't taking care of her mother or the land. You know, Tupelo resident remembered the kinds of tenants that helped most folks cope. Like, remember when I told you in the community there's always people that are going to be givers? Well, here's a giver. His name was Old Dr. William Robert Hunt. He also delivered Elvis, but he was also a Sunday school teacher too. But he would give when he could, just like the community. If you can give, give. There's somebody out there that might not. Anyways, next page. This tiny, impoverished community somehow survived by mutually sharing good fortune. If one person had a good fortune, he would share it or she would share it with the rest of the people in the area. So according to that, like for instance, there was only one home in Tupelo that had a camera. So there was only one home in Tupelo that had a camera. So everybody would use them people from that home with camera to take pictures if they needed it. There would also only be a house or two on the street that had radios. So the whole community would listen to one radio. Could you imagine? Picture this. You buy a radio today, and you're the only one on your block who has a radio. So at a certain time, when your favorite radio program comes on, you will open your doors for people in the community to come into your house or on your porch and listen to it too. So you would share your radio with the whole community if you had to, if it was the only radio that there was. So that's what I mean by sharing. If you had something that nobody else had on the block, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a knock on the door. Hey, can I borrow your sewing machine? Or, hey, can you turn on something at 6 o'clock tonight? I got to listen to my program. They would share. They would share cars, too. In one community, there might be only one car or one bus. and you would help others. Everyone, yeah, Cat Girl Blue, everyone helped each other. And back then, you had to survive. Okay, here we go. According to this, the Smiths might have been poor, but they still found money to buy things. It also states that Bob Smith, Gladys's father, got a loan from the bank and moved the family to a farm of 30 acres with a house with hedged roses growing around the front door. To them, it states in this book, it was like the promised land. They had a place to call home, but it wasn't just a place they called home. It was the nicest place they ever had. So her dad got a loan from the bank. They bought 30 acres and a nice house. And they really liked it there. By this time, the book says Gladys held her head up high. She looked real nice. She showed off her new homemade dresses by this time. She always kept her clothes clean. And according to this book, she would go into the local store at least 60 times a day. So she would visit the store like 60 times a day. She would go in and buy snuff for her first purchase to cure her appetite, which I don't know about you guys, but snuff, I believe, is tobacco mixed with something to cure your appetite. Unless you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I know they don't sell that stuff now, but back then things like that were just over the counter. So snuff's like dip, but it's also got like some anti-appetite added to it. So if you use it, you're not going to be hungry. So she did snuff, which is she put it in her mouth. Snuff is tobacco you snuff through your nose. Yeah, but it also had something in it to cure your appetite. It wasn't just the tobacco. There was something else in it to cure your appetite. I just don't remember what it was. Okay. Now, let's see. She would come in the rest of the day. She would get a soda, or she would get licorice, or, whatever. But they went to the store an awful lot. I guess that during this time, Gladys's father was doing real good if they had enough money to go in and out, in and out, in and out of the store for here, there, and what. I'm not saying they were rich, but going to the store once a day is one thing, but going to the store 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 times a day, what's that up? But that's what the book said she did, that they frequented the store. And this is after they bought that big house with the 30 acres of land to sharecrop. I mean, not to sharecrop, excuse me. This was the first time they weren't sharecropping. This was their land. He got a loan from the bank to buy this 30 acres in this house. So they're not sharecropping anymore. So now their harvest will be 100% theirs. They won't have to share their harvest with anyone. So I'm sure they're happy because in their minds, they think probably they changed their fate by getting this loan and this house and this farm. Now, here is the other part, okay? It says that Gladys was lively. She was a passionate young woman who hoped to make a good impression by people, and she wanted to be accepted by others. Okay? She loved to buck dance for the neighbors on Saturday night, and it says that she dreamed of being either a singer, like Mississippi's own Jimmy Rogers, or an actress like Clara Bow. So she wanted to be a singer or an actress. So isn't it kind of funny that her son ends up growing up to be one of the most famous, iconic entertainers ever? and also an actor. She wanted to be a singer and actor herself. So I just think that's funny how fate works. She never got what she wanted to be when she was younger, but she gave birth to a legend, to an icon. All right. Also, now this is the part about her violent temper. She had a temper like a firestorm, according to this. Gladys didn't just inherit her father's deep-set eyes, but she also inherited his temper and irritability. Everybody in the family, according to this, was scared of Gladys and her temper. So everybody in the family is scared of Gladys, guys. Everybody. Her 7 brothers and sisters. Mom and dad, maybe even as well. As I said, all in the family were scared of Gladys's temper and what she can do when she gets angry. It also says that she ran all those kids, even her eldest sister Lillian. Everybody knew not to mess with Gladys, according to this. There was a couple exceptions, though. The Smith family was just wilder than goats. By God, they were tough. Tougher even than the Presleys, and they were violent people. Do you hear that? They were wild. Wild as goats, and very violent people when aroused. Like I said, guys, she's a spitfire. Don't mess with Gladys. She'll hit a hot pot pan around your head of beans. Don't make her mad. It also said that Gladys had a muscular build. She had big, wide shoulders, making her resemble a man sometimes. Gladys's temper made her a force to be reckoned with, according to this book. This tells a story when she was working on a farm, when they were sharecropping when she was young. And this shows what Gladys used to be like when she was a strong-willed individual. It says here that if you scared her real bad and you made her mad, she'd lash out at you. It also says on this farm, a guy came by on a horse with his high-topped leather boots and a whip in his hand, okay? He jumped on her father and her sisters with it. It says here Gladys was maybe 10, maybe 11 years old. But she ripped Plowshare off and took the point and hit him in the head with it. Damn near killed him. And this is her only being 10, 11? You know, when I was that age, I might not have been shy, but I don't know, I could have wanted to take on a grown man on a horse with a whip. She did, but that man on the horse with a whip was trying to whip her sisters and brothers and her father. Could you imagine seeing that when you grew up? Could you guys imagine? Just a different time back then. It also says here that Gladys had vulnerabilities, and she was very emotional. She attended religious services at the Church of God and Prophecy. But Gladys had superstitions. And there were things that not even her faith could get rid of, her anxiety. She also had impulsiveness. And it said that it plagued her from time that she was a small child. Her sister said that the young Gladys was very highly strung and very nervous. It also says that she was frightened by all kinds of things, by thunderstorms and wind. She was also hearing noises outside at night and imagining there was someone in the bushes. Okay, when you hear voices and you see things that aren't there, Could she have had some type of schizophrenia? Could she have been borderline schizophrenic? I mean, if you're hearing voices and you're seeing things that are not there, wouldn't that be a part of schizophrenia or the beginning of it? Yeah, Rainbow. Gladys was a little Scarlett O'Hara, all right. Flora, Gladys could not have been able to learn to drive by Vernon. He probably would not have been patient with teaching Gladys to drive, is what I meant. Well, Gladys never wanted to drive. She never wanted to, anyway. Manly, I can't imagine it. Trevor, God's Rainbow, love to see it. Frosty, it's nice to hear about Gladys. Until now, I knew nothing about her. Good, Frosty. We're going through the book, Baby Let's Play House, and the author, Alanna Nash, really did her homework. So stick with us and you'll learn more. Manly, if I lived in some of those sharecropper cabins, I would have been scared of wind and storms too. Yeah, those middle of nowhere places, right? Rainbow, or maybe had psychic gifts? I didn't say anything about her predicting the future, though, Rainbow. It just said that she heard things that weren't there, and she saw things that weren't there. Catgirl Blue, just because no one else saw them doesn't mean they weren't there. Well, are you telling me, Catgirl Blue, that she was seeing invisible people that only she can see, and talking to invisible people only she can see, and being scared of invisible things that only she could see? I don't know. It's just interesting to me how much anxiety she had, how much fear she had, yet she had a temper and people were scared of her, but she was also vulnerable because she was scared and anxious and was a worrier. Trevor, yes, hearing voices can be a sign of schizophrenia. I'm just saying she might not have been diagnosed. It was the 1910s, you know, all the way up to like even into 1950s. She was doing this stuff. From time to time, it depended on what her mood set was and what was going on. Wanda, maybe Gladys was afraid of things that she imagined in the dark or noises. Maybe. Teresa, Gladys was a special gift. She was to Elvis. Yes, she was. Elvis, chick. I think you're right, Rainbow. Ghost with the most. Oh, let's not get on Beetlejuice now. Manly, it makes you wonder if later she heard voices telling her bad things were happening to Elvis when he traveled. Well, it's going to talk about in a minute what she was seeing and what she was hearing, if you guys want an idea. Okay. So, it also says that she had, okay, this is an example. Okay, Gladys was very high-strung and very nervous. She was frightened by all kinds of things, by thunderstorms and wind. In time, she had full-blown phobias. Full-blown phobias, guys, okay? Once she moved to East Tupelo, she had all the bushes around her house cut down, terrified that dark things were moving in them. Her anxieties came and went without warning, it says. She seemed better, though, when she had some social things that she could do, like church or dances or some social outing, some social thing to look forward to, and then she was better. But if there was no social outlet, her phobias would kick in, and she would be totally different because she was scared of these things. Okay? Now, one of the things that stirred her imagination, according to this, was when she got older, she loved men. She loved boys. She loved men. It says right here that it stirred her imagination. As a young child, though, said that Gladys was scared of boys, but as she got older, she wasn't scared anymore. It goes to the point where her father was raising his daughters, and he would tell them that there was a code of courtship, that you could only hold hands, you couldn't kiss, it was forbidden, and it would lead to other things. So they were only supposed to hold hands if they were with a boy. But the thing was, a boy asked Gladys, according to this, if he could walk her home one day. She was young, a teenager, probably like 13. And he said, "Can I walk you home?" And she got so scared of him asking to walk her home that she took her shoes off and she ran. She ran away from him. She didn't know what to do. And because that's why she did it, and that's why she was scared of boys at first, is because her father instilled in the girls to be scared of boys, that things lead to other things, if you know what I'm saying. But when Gladys got a little older, it changed. She went, boy, happy she was, boy, happy. You'll see, hold on. By Gladys's late teens, she was over her fear. Years later, a guy named Pid Harris said he dated her, and he reported that she was fast and liked to play, which of course was a scandal for the small town of Tupelo. What would be your definition of Gladys? Fast and like to play. I'm not talking about playing like you're a school kid playing at the school playground. No, she was in her late teens by this time. So you guys tell me what the definition of you think Gladys was: being fast and she liked to play. Because my personal opinion, that means she liked the boys. She liked the boys a little bit too much. That's my definition anyway, trying to keep it PG around here. Trevor, Flora, Elvis chick. Did she have a dream about the car that caught? Yeah, she did, Elvis chick, but that's later on. Manly, if she was anything like Elvis, she probably liked to kiss quite a bit. Yeah, and even kissing boys back then was quite scandalous. So yeah. Dixie. She was Cherokee Indian. She had natural gift from God, seeing and hearing spirits. That too. There are people that have all through the South, Appalachia, have a belief system that, being either you're Native American or anything else in this area, they believe in gifts from God, seeing things that aren't there. But according to this book so far, she saw things and heard things that nobody else did. So thanks, Dixie, for what you think. But a lot of people have talked about things like that around here in the South. They still do. I mean, there are still backwood witches and witchcraft and things go on still today too in the South. There's voodoo, there's hoodoo. There's so many different belief systems that all have things about gifts and seeing things and hearing things and seeing the future and being an empathic person. Frosty, I think Gladys was hormonal. Lots of women are, but it says in this book she was over emotional sometimes, and it would rule her most times. Manly, loose probably meant she let boys touch her under her blouse. And she probably let them kiss her an awful lot. So that just means she really loved boys, and she loved the way boys made her feel. Ha ha ha. How do we put it nicely? Fast and furious. I liked to play. Maleficent, wrestling, cowboys and Indians. Were you wrapped in Indian to truth? Well, it depends on your belief system, but Cherokee Indians and also the Creek and Cherokee around this area, they have superstitions. They have myths, they have legends, and a lot of that stuff stems from seeing things, hearing things, seeing the future, feeling what other people feel, um, and then it draining you because you feel too much. So a little bit of empathic things, but it's all about being in the South, babies. It's all about being in the South. If y'all are Southern, then you understand what I'm talking about. If y'all aren't, then come and visit. And maybe you'll understand. Dixie. I'm in the South. I'm Cherokee Indian as well. Really? So am I. I'm Cherokee Irish. Dixie. That's my family. Rainbow. Agree, Dixie. I think some people have visions and others don't. I think Gladys did, and that's where Elvis got his searching spirit from. Yeah, I didn't come to think about it. That does make sense. Elvis chick. Maybe she see dead people. Maybe she did. I mean, who's to say what she saw? Just because people don't see or hear what she's hearing and seeing don't mean that it's not there, like what Cat Girl Blue said. You know? Teresa, Gladys had a special gift. She did. She could see things before they could happen, you know? And we'll get to that. We'll get to that eventually. Frosty, I am one half Blackfoot Sioux, have gifts. A lot of us have something that some people don't. I'm not getting into what has happened to me all my life growing up. This show is not about me. This show right now is about Gladys. So I'm not even going to start. Patty, I think Gladys was intuitive. She knew Parker was no good and did not want Elvis to sign with him. She was right. Dixie, yes. Nat TV, I have native blood from this hemisphere. I'm from Argentina. Rainbow, and that's why you, Shauna, are so discerning too. Oh, well, there's something about people like us. We do. We have these abilities. Not saying it's anything great and special, but it's different. You know, we can read people. We can see through people. We can attract people. We can feel things other people feel, good and bad. It's not always a good thing. You know, have you ever been in a room with someone so negative, it's just draining you, like sucking your will to live? If that's the case, you guys might have empathic traits too. Queen, even though she had beautiful, dreamy eyes, they were such eyes. Same as Elvis, Lisa, and Ben. One of Lisa's twin girls too had sadness in their eyes. Yeah, they share the same eyes. There is sadness. There's something there. It's haunting eyes. Cat Girl Blue. I think Gladys was very sensitive and creative, but she had no outlet for her talents and that time and place. She was born in the wrong, but she needed to be born to have our Elvis, right? But everything she wanted to be, everything she wanted to strive for as a young adult, she got with Elvis. You guys notice that? She wanted to be a singer. She wanted to be an actress. She was very creative. She couldn't go very far in where she was, like Cat Girl Blue said, but wham, Elvis gets famous, and he's everything she wanted and more as she was a girl. Nat TV, Gladys, Elvis, and Lisa were all intuitive and on a spiritual side. All right, let me see, where were we? Okay. Just a little bit more for you guys to go over tonight, okay? And then I'll let you guys go. In this book, it shows that Gladys at one point was fighting with another girl, and two of them were slapping and hitting one another. Two guys had to pull them away. And do you guys want to know what the fight was about? A man. So could you imagine? Gladys is fighting and hitting some chick over another man. Okay? But Gladys getting a little older in her teens, she noticed that her older sisters were getting married, and Gladys felt the pressure of it. So, because she was also impulsive, she wanted to escape. So, she got eloped with a young farmer when she was in her late teens, it says. What happened is, 2 days after she married this farmer, she found out that he was already married. Could you imagine? You get married for the first time and you're young. You're probably what? 17, 18 years old. You get married for the first time, and 2 days later, you find out your husband that you just eloped with is already married. Could you imagine how hard that would be and sad? So that happened. So she was married once before she met Vernon. If you guys didn't know that, you do now. Bad thing is, the guy she married wasn't a good enough man to tell her he was already married. If I was Gladys with Gladys's temper, I bet you she let him pay. I bet you she did something. Oh, to be a fly on the wall when she found out that her husband was already married. All right. Now, after this, it made her so embarrassed. It made her so ashamed. It made her so heartbroken that she just didn't know what to do. I mean, what would you guys do? What would you guys do if you got married for the first time and your man was someone you thought you knew, and 2 days later, you find out he was already married and you really didn't know him at all? So she had to come crawling back home to her parents after the nuptials because she wasn't about to live with this man that's married already. So she had to go back home again. Manly, it would be hard to go home and admit you got fooled. It would have been. It would have been. So I know Nat TV, it was common back then and hard to check out if they're married or not, but you would know. You as a person would know if you're already married or not. Who cares about paperwork and stuff? Yeah, paperwork trails and things back then were hard to prove, but I'm talking about you as a person would know if you were already married. So this guy already knew he was married. This was no mistake. This was no mistake. He knew he was already married, but he told her he wasn't, and they got married. And I think it's the saddest thing when she had to go back home with her head down, embarrassed for marrying another married man. That means he committed adultery with Gladys by marrying her. So maybe she felt a little guilty because y'all don't know what church y'all go to, but adultery is not a good thing. So she probably felt really bad and defeated. Defeated. And crawling back home would make you feel defeated, especially since you already thought you had a way out because you just got married. Now, something bad happens around this time. You think it's enough that her husband was married already and she had to leave him and go back home, but oh no, that's not what fate had in turn for her. She gets home, and not very long after that dealt a blow to her in her heart. She got emotional, felt more fragile, and in 1933, something tragic happened. Her father, Bob Smith, died of pneumonia. Oh, it was sudden. It was sudden. Everybody always figured that Doll Smith would die first because she had tuberculosis. She was sick her whole life. So everybody thought that she would be the one to die first. But oh no, that's not how fates work. It was her father that died first, and it was unexpected. It was a surprise. They didn't even have money at that time. They had to borrow a sheet. They had to borrow a sheet to wrap him up in, and then they had buried him at the Spring Hill Cemetery in an unmarked grave. And you would have thought at this time Gladys would have took control and been like the head of the household after her daddy died, because her older sisters were married at this time. She was the only one that wasn't married yet because she tried. He was already married. So now she has to take care of her mother, her younger brothers, and her 12-year-old sister. And it was really hard for her because she didn't have it in her. She didn't have it in her. At this time, she gets married. Her husband's already married. She has to go all the way home. The heartache and the embarrassment that it would give her in that community. Oh, look at Gladys walking down the street. Mm-hmm. She was married and her husband was already married. Mm-hmm. Oh, poor dear. Can imagine the talk of the town during this time of her life. But now her father died, and he was the one constant in her life, because according to this book, he was one of the men that was reliable to her and constant, was her dad, Bob Smith. When he died, it was too much for her because she was already brokenhearted from her marriage. All right. So what happens to Gladys at this time? Gladys fell into a complete and total collapse. According to this, she began displaying the classic symptoms of what psychologists call conversion hysteria. Yep, conversion hysteria is which grief becomes manifested in physical ailment. It says that a friend remembered that Gladys at one time became so anxious that she could not walk. She could not walk. She could not use her legs. For days, weeks, months, she had to be in a bed. She couldn't walk. She couldn't use her legs to walk. It got to her emotionally that I don't know if it was that her brain was telling her body she couldn't walk because of the grief, or was it her emotions were so hardcore she couldn't deal with it. So she resorted back to being sick, like Doll Smith was sick her whole life. And that's the only thing she knew at the time, is just to be powerless because she was broken at this time. You know? Also it said that she took the safety to her bed. She was unable to move. She had to have the help of others. It kind of replicated the state that her mother had manifested for decades. So that tells me there that she started acting like Doll. She started acting like Doll had her whole life by retorting to that with her heartache from her marriage that wasn't a good marriage, that she had to leave because he was already married, and the quick and sudden death of her father. So it totally gave her a psychosis where she couldn't walk, and people were worried about her at this time, I would believe. I mean, she had overburdened herself. It was just a burden, with the grief, and it was hard for her to deal with reality according to this part of the book. Now, 10 years later, after her father died, in the winter of 1941, she had a similar reaction to another tragedy. Yep. Conversion hysteria made her not able to talk. She couldn't talk and she couldn't walk during this time, and this was 10 years after this incident. What did this to her this time, according to Annie, which was Gladys's cousin, Gladys found in a high state of anxiety. She could not move. She just stood there in the doorway saying nothing. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. She was wringing her hands over and over, over and over. And this is what it means by wringing your hands over and over, over and over. She couldn't talk. She couldn't walk. And finally, it was only from a neighbor where Annie learned that Gladys's older sister, Retha Smith Lloyd, had died a terrible death. She tried to build a fire in her wood stove to cook dinner, it says, and she didn't see there was already a spark out of the other fire before still in the stove. She didn't see that, so she poured a little coal oil in it, and it flamed up, and it caught her on fire and burned her. It says poor Retha lingered in agonizing pain for hours before she died. So Gladys gets rendered conversion, hysteria, when she found out her husband was not really her husband because he was already married, and when she lost her father to pneumonia. Then 10 years later, she goes through it again when she finds out her sister Retha Smith Lloyd had died a very tragic, painful, agonizing death. It says the only thing that freed Gladys from the psychological paralysis and restored her to normal was her religious faith. At the Pentecostal services at the tiny Assembly of God Church in East Tupelo. Yep. They said right here that Pentecostal churches, like the Assembly of God, revered speaking in tongues as evidence that the Holy Spirit talked through the parishioners. Both the speakers and the interpreters of the sounds, called the barks, the jerks, and the holy laugh, were held in the highest esteem. Now, I will tell you guys, being in the South, I'm going to tell you, I went to a Pentecostal church. I started speaking at tongues when I was 16. I know what they're talking about. It's like something takes control over your body where you're not even there anymore. And what comes out of your mouth, what comes out of your gut, what comes out of you during that time is not really you. It's the Holy Spirit working through you. It's the waving of the hands. It's the dancing in the aisles. It's the rolling in the floor. And it's also, if you're lucky, and you start speaking in tongues, and you're lucky, and you get someone in the Holy Spirit can interpretate what you're saying, then it's a mighty day indeed. I had that happen to me once. I started speaking in tongues, and I had no idea what I was saying or doing for that fact. And not very long after I quit speaking in tongues, a lady stood up who was Spanish, and she said, she's talking in Spanish. She's saying, get ready for the harvest. The time is almost near. And I know when I don't speak Spanish going, what the what? Well, God works in mysterious ways. And here in the South, Pentecostal is no joke. No joke, guys. No joke. Used to have hair long all the way to your knees, had to wear dresses every day, all day. Granted, I changed my religion. Well, not my religion, but my religious beliefs in my church when I was about 22. But that's how the Pentecostals did. They still do to this day. So it's a real gift with the Holy Spirit. Whether you believe it or not, I'm just letting you know, it just feels like your body's getting took over, and your body is not your body anymore. Your mouth is not your mouth anymore. The Holy Spirit has took over, and there is a message to be heard. And if you're lucky, the message can be interpreted. So, I mean, judge however you guys want, but Pentecostal is in the South, and Assembly of God is part of the Pentecostal faith. So Gladys started going to Pentecostal church, and it started freeing her and helping her get over this conversion hysteria. This was the only thing that could get her out of it, was her religious belief. And I believe it. There are times in my life where I've been down and out feeling like, oh God, please, please. Have you ever been in a situation where there's been so many different situations at once that you're so overwhelmed that you just pray to God, go, God, can you please just lay off and don't give me any more because I can't handle anymore. I can't handle anymore. Well, this is probably where she was thinking, where she was at in her mind. There's she can't. There's too much she was handling, and she couldn't handle anymore. Anyway, 4 months after the horrific trauma of Rethro's death, Gladys attended yet another tragedy. Yep. Annie's third baby, Barbara Sue, was delivered at home and died 8 hours after the birth from asphyxiation from too much mucus in the lungs, which happened back then. Back then, it's hard to get good health care. Back then, we only knew so much, and you can only afford so much, And home births were not, home births were very common back then, but not every home birth was great. Things happened, and emergencies can happen, and this is one of those emergencies. Gladys was in and out of it all day. The baby was struggling to breathe pretty bad, according to this. So they called Dr. Robert about 3 times that day, but he wouldn't come. Could you imagine before there was 911 services or ambulances? A baby is dying in your arms, and you're calling the doctor to come, please hurry. And you call him 3 times, not 1, not twice, 3 times, and he denies seeing you. He doesn't come. Could you imagine what situation that would make you feel? You have no vehicle. You have no one. You call the doctor like you're supposed to save this poor baby, and he denies coming 3 times. Could you imagine how helpless he would be? Anyways, by the time that the doctor finally got there, the poor baby was dead, according to the book. Gladys was the one that took the baby off the bed and put it on another bed when she died. But Gladys stayed close by Annie's side. Annie was only 19 years old herself, and she was too weak, it says, and distraught to go to the graveyard to even bury her baby. But Gladys, it says, stayed with her the whole time, while everybody else went to the funeral. Gladys kept saying this. Now remember, guys, Gladys kept saying this, and this is an awesome point right here. Gladys kept telling Annie, your belief in God will get you through. Gladys told the devastating mother over and over, look to God. Only God can get us through those times. Only God can get us through the grief and the heartache something like that would do. But it still wouldn't be the same. Losing a baby. And not very long after this, Gladys loses her own child as well. Oh, it would be a hard time back then. East Tupelo Church in the spring of 1933, Gladys, who just turned 21 according to this book, she was also operator of a sewing machine in the Tupelo garment company, making $2 a day. But during church service in the spring of 1933, that's where she first laid eyes on Vernon Presley. So she meets him in church, guys. I guess his looks and the way he presented himself and the way he moved and the way he was caught her attention, caught Gladys's attention. But it wasn't love at first sight, though, guys. It wasn't love at first sight. What happened was, when she met Vernon at church, Gladys, was already dating somebody. Who was she dating? Well, she was already over the guy that stood her up because he was already married. So she was with Vernon's brother, Vester. And Vernon was with Gladys's sister, Cletus. So there's that. But after time, Gladys left Vester because she didn't like his attitude. And then she swip-swapped, kind of like the sisters swip-swapped. So Gladys went to Vernon, and then Cletus went to Vester. They married, and that's all she wrote. And it's just cute and funny at the same time because you have two sisters marrying two brothers. So yeah, that's how that worked out. All right. When I said it wrong. When Vernon and Gladys got married, it was June 17th of 1933. Okay. Vernon was barely 17, but he looked grown enough. If you see the pictures, you know. Vernon had to borrow the money for the marriage license. They spelled his name wrong, as instead of Vernon with an E, they put Vernon with an I. Vernon and Gladys both lied about their ages. Vernon added 5 years to his 17, which made him 22. And Gladys subtracted 2 years from her 19. Yep. Why would you think that they lied about their age? Guys, tell me in the comment section. Do you think they lied about their age because Vernon was too young to marry, so they had to make him look older so they could get married? Do you think that's why? If he's 17 and she's 19, do you think that's why they lied about their age? I think so. I think it's because Vernon was 17. He was too young. But I think that's funny and very rebellious of them for lying about their age like that. Anyway, it says here that they were so attracted to each other. They had lust for each other, that they were so into each other, you know, in the beginning. They couldn't keep their hands off of each other, according to this. And also, not very long, she gets pregnant, doesn't she, guys? But anyways, folks, that's the last page that I actually read this week and did my homework on to give to you guys. So we went through all the way to page 8. But I'm telling you, there was just so much to talk about. And with live chat, talking to you guys and having your opinions, you know, it's different, but I actually liked it. So if you guys want to, we can do this live book club every week, unless I'm sick or something. Then I might have to pre-tape. But, you know, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this so far. I know I am. It's giving you an idea of the family dynamic of both sides and how Elvis was, how the environment was when Elvis was born and raised. Lot to learn in this. I know 8 pages might not seem like a lot, but it's a lot when you're not just reading it. But I can't read it word for word. I actually just have to give you the tidbits. But it was fun, guys. Also, tell me in the comment section below if you enjoy the live chat. If you did, let me know. If you thought that I ignored some of y'all's comments, it's not because I was ignoring. It's because I'm doing a lot of looking at my book and reading things. So I didn't know if a live chat would work or not. But you guys proved me wrong. But yeah, Cat Girl Blue, babies died all the time back then, you know. And medicine was a lot different back then than it is now, you know. And the life expectancy for women who are pregnant is a lot better also these days than back then as well. All this chick. So you can imagine how Gladys felt losing one of her own baby after this. Exactly. exactly. You can imagine it, right? But she was already lived through it with Annie. Arlen. Gladys, prayers of great grandma that probably covered Lisa got her. Sorry, Cat Girl Blue. I'm trying to get some comments in that I didn't read. Manly, yes, it was because Vernon was underage, would have needed his parents' consent. That's what I thought. That's why I think why it made him older and she younger, which I think is funny though. And Catgirl Blue said it too. Vernon was too young. Arlene, and innocent love. Oh, young love, right? Young love. Manly, based off Vernon's behavior shortly after Gladys dies with Dee, Vernon and Gladys were probably very hands-on until the end. Yeah. See, Pam thinks it was fun. Thank you. I had fun too. I didn't know how it was all going to work out, but I kind of like I like what I'm seeing, and I like how it's feeling. So I'll keep it going live, guys. I'll keep it going live. Relaxing by the minute. I see this is why Elvis loves his lady friend Young. Maybe. Wanda, thanks for having book club. You're welcome. It's fun so far. Good night, Shauna. Good night, Queen. I'll see you either Friday with my live spilling the Presley tea, or I'll see you next Monday when we do book club. Relaxing by the minute. Thank you. Have a good night. God bless you. God bless you too. Cheryl enjoyed it. Elvis Chick, it was fun. I love it. Thank you, Shauna, for doing it. You're welcome. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while. I just didn't know how it was all going to work out because I definitely didn't want to get in trouble for copyright. And as long as you're not reading the book word for word, I think it'll be okay. Liz, I came in late, but I loved it. It's okay. When this uploads, you can watch the whole thing and you wouldn't miss anything. Queen, blessings to Tanya. Thank you. And thank you for your continued prayers for Tanya, okay? I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate it. I know she does too, and God is good. Millicent, who had the twin split gene, Vernon or Gladys? If I'm trying to remember correctly, I thought it was Vernon. Nat TV, hit the like button, guys. Yes, if you like this video and want more videos like it, please push the up button, like thumbs up, because it helps the algorithm. Also, if you guys haven't subscribed to my Little O channel yet, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel out, and it keeps us getting this content out to you guys, okay? Thank you, guys. And you enjoyed book club, Rosalind? Thank you. And you're looking forward to the rest of the book? Me too. Lily, thanks, Shauna. This is awesome. Good night, everybody. I appreciate all y'all. Patty, book club, a great idea. Thank you. All right. Just Rubes, loved it. Going back to replay now. Good. Good. Karen, twin comes from the mother side. And there you go, guys. The twins came from the mother side. So I guess the twins came from Gladys' side of the family. Okay, sweet dreams, guys. I love y'all. God bless y'all. Please stay safe out there. Got some craziness in the world today. Please be safe out there. And I will see you guys Friday for Shauna Spilling, the Presley Tea Live. All right, got some things to go over on Friday night. Okay, anything else, guys? Anything else? Can you think of anything else? All right, everybody. TCBTLC. God bless you all. And you know what? I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye, everybody. See you Friday night. Like and subscribe, all right? See you later.